I recently went to a conference where I got shocked to hear that we only have 60 harvests left unless we change our farming practices, especially here in the US, but in general in the world. So I really think about restoring the health of our soils to sustain life on Earth, which is why we really focus on regenerative farming as a goal for us in the future for how we're going to be sourcing our raw materials.
You're listening to the Good Dirt Podcast. This is a place where we dig into the nitty-gritty of sustainable living through food, fashion, and lifestyle.
And we're your hosts, Emma and Mary Kingsley, the mother-daughter founder team of Lady Farmer. We're sowing seeds of slow living through our community platform, events, and online marketplace.
We started this podcast as a means to share the wealth of information and quality conversations that we're having in our world as we dream up and deliver ways for each of us to live into the new paradigm, one that is regenerative, balanced, and whole.
We want to put the microphone in front of the voices that need to be heard the most right now: the farmers, the dreamers, the designers, and the doers.
So come cultivate a better world with us. We're so glad you're here. Now, let's dig in. Welcome, everyone, to the Good Dirt Podcast and to yet another transitional week in the wheel of the year. Today is St. Patrick's Day, and that's the day we celebrate the patron saint of Ireland, who is credited with spreading Christianity to the Irish people. And this overlaps in the same week with the spring equinox, which this year is happening on Monday, March 20th at 5:24 Eastern Standard Time.
Do you think that St. Patrick's Day is somehow connected to the spring equinox, or is it just a coincidence that they're right around the same time?
Well, March 17th is supposedly the date of St. Patrick's death in 461 AD, which the church eventually declared was his feast day. So in that sense, it seems coincidental. But given that during this time when Christianity was taking hold in Ireland, there would have been a lot of overlap between the old and the new religious practices. So in being so close to the spring equinox, St. Patrick's feast day kind of naturally evolves into a cultural celebration of the beginning of spring. So yeah.
So what does the whole thing about wearing green and drinking green beer and everything come from?
I don't think the green thing has anything in particular to do with St. Patrick himself, except that people kind of associate Ireland with the color green. And of course, green is a sign of life returning in the spring. We think of green sprouts and so forth. So as with so many of the seasonal shifts that were once a part of the ancient earth-centered life, they kind of got absorbed into the more official celebrations and the influences of the church. But there are some fun gardening tips associated with St. Patrick's Day that I think our Lady Farmer community would really enjoy.
What are they? Can you share them with us?
Yeah, and I'm taking these things straight from the Old Farmer's Almanac, which is a really fun resource, which I highly recommend. So here you go. If you plant peas on this day, St. Patrick will bless your garden. And it's also traditional to plant potatoes on this day. And if you plant cabbage today, especially before dawn while wearing your night clothes, your cabbage will grow very well.
That's so fun. Speaking of gardening, do you want to give a sneak peek of something that's happening in the Almanac starting this month?
Yeah, well, we've got lots of really wonderful things in the pipeline, but one thing in particular I'm especially excited about announcing is the new gardening forum that will be beginning next week. And whether you're growing things on a farm or in a window box or in a patio pot or wherever, this will be a great opportunity to ask all the questions, share your ideas and suggestions and your stories. We have a whole list of topics we'd love to discuss, including, but not exclusive to, gardening by the moon, biodynamic gardening, phenology, building backyard ecosystems, growing food in small spaces, native plants, dealing with weeds, pests, invasives. All of these things we want to talk about. So come on and join us.
So this is all happening in the Almanac, which is our online membership community. This year, we are opening it for spring, and then we'll be closing it for the next several months. And so if you want to get in on it, now is the great time to join us. We not only have this gardening forum group, but this season we're really focused on our slow living skill shares and growing those skills together. So that's the goal of this community, is to take slow living and sustainability enthusiasts all together, connect with one another, share our skills, share our knowledge, and learn from one another as well. If you've been following along with us the past few weeks, you might have noticed that we've been doing the Slow Living Challenge that has since ended officially on Instagram and here on the podcast. But the Almanac is kind of like the Slow Living Challenge all year round. It really never stops. So if you want to join in on all the fun and spend more time with us in this space and go deeper into all of these topics that we talk about on the podcast, you can go to our website at ladyfarmer.com, click community to join the Almanac. And especially if you're interested in this new gardening forum, you'll definitely want to join in. We will be doing a closed membership this year, so we're keeping the doors open for a few weeks. We'll let you know the date that those doors are closing. But if you're thinking about joining, now is the time to do it.
Okay, so on to our episode for today with our guests, Phoebe Yu and Kat Day, co-founders of Ettitude. Ettitude is an award-winning material science and lifestyle company innovating eco-textiles to fight climate change. With its proprietary technologies, Ettitude offers sustainable bedding, bath essentials, apparel, and a variety of textiles made with their patented and carbon-neutral CleanBamboo.
Their clean materials are non-toxic and 100% natural for a thriving, healthy life for you and the earth. Ettitude stands for Eco-Attitude. So that reflects Ettitude's innovations with fabrics and processes that are rooted in nature and regeneration, which you know are things that we love here. Their consciousness with regards to the environment, the community, consumer education, and their optimism in their efforts to change things for the better.
Ettitude is on a mission to create next-generation fabrics and products that reduce their impact and support the health of the planet. At Lady Farmer, we're especially excited about Ettitude's CleanBamboo process, which transforms the typically toxic and polluting process of bamboo fabric production into a non-toxic, closed-loop system that saves 98% of the water, resulting in a beautiful, soft, and luscious weave that's wonderful against your skin and gentle on the planet. The very good news here is that this CleanBamboo process elevates bamboo as an abundant and renewable resource into a truly sustainable fiber.
We love talking to Phoebe Yu and Kat Day, co-founders of Ettitude. As a certified B Corp, climate neutral, and member of 1% for the Planet company, we were really honored to have Phoebe and Kat on our podcast, and we learned so much. We hope that you do as well. Please enjoy this conversation with Phoebe and Kat.
Hi, I'm Phoebe. I'm the founder and CEO of Ettitude. Ettitude means eco-attitude. So we are a textile material science company and a sustainable lifestyle brand. And our mission is to really dramatically reduce the negative environment impact on textile by replacing cotton and viscose with better alternatives, aka our CleanBamboo. We are also a certified carbon neutral business and a B Corp. So I started Ettitude really, as the name suggests, I want to develop products that are better for the environment after I moved to Australia. So before I started Ettitude, I was in the home textile for over a decade, helping big companies source products from Asia and really see the material used. First, it's not innovative and they are not sustainable. So after I moved to Australia, it's really eye-opening a lot about the climate change, the sustainability, and working for Sustainability Foundation in Melbourne. Developed my passion and more knowledge on this topic, and decided I want to have my own brand company that only focus on sustainable materials for the home sector. So that's how I started. Took a couple years in R&D to develop and perfect our CleanBamboo textile. So first launched in Australia and just really testing the product, test the market. But the vision is always for Ettitude to be a global company to make more impact. So we quickly grow into the US market. And that's when I start to partner with Kat. Kat is from me. Kat is my co-founder. Let Kat introduce herself.
Hi, I'm Kat Day. I'm the co-founder and president of Ettitude. And I came to do this because I've been working on scaling mission-driven, good-for-you brands for the last 15 years. And I got to know Phoebe online, actually, back in 2017. And Phoebe sent me our core product, which is the sheet set, and I fell in love with the product. I had the best sleep of my life after she sent me the sheets, and I put them on my bed. And I realized this is one of the most disruptive products that I've ever experienced. And I decided to join the company to help scale it because I also wanted to make sure that the next venture that I dive deeper into is also positive for the planet. And I was very excited about the positive impact we could make with our innovative textile technology. So prior to Ettitude, I have been an entrepreneur. So I had founded, scaled, and sold a good-for-you, mission-driven food subscription business that was focused on international gourmet food. And prior to that, I had strategy and business development roles in a variety of companies, both in consumer as well as media and SaaS businesses. So I really just wanted to lend my skills and really fall in love with the product, like I said, as well as our impact.
Very good. Thank you. Can either of you talk a little bit about some personal story or moment that really shifted you in terms of sustainability? It sounds like you've both been very invested in it for a good while, but can you remember when it first became more top of mind for you that the products we use every day need to be more conscious?
I think for me, it's really the move to Australia, to Melbourne. I think in Australia, people are really conscious about the environment. Before back that, I lived in Shanghai, China. That's 15 years ago, 10 years ago. It's not top of mind now. Everybody talk about it, also try to do something about it. But I think my aha moment is really after I moved to Australia. And it's on the newspapers, on TV. It's where people talk about it. There's a lot of NGO focus on education and deliver the message to consumers. Yeah.
And for me, I think it was becoming a mom. So I have 2 little girls. And as soon as I had my first baby, it was a huge aha moment. I wanted to change everything in my house to be a lot more natural. So I was really conscious about all the products that we use in the household, not just for the health of the babies in our household, but also for the environment. And of course, joining Ettitude, I had such a huge, really quick education on the impact, especially in the textile space, that we have on climate change. And so overall, I became a lot more passionate about the space. I want to use my platform as much as I can and my time on this planet to improve the situation as quickly as possible.
It's amazing how often that is the case, really, that the having children is a switch that people experience. And also, Phoebe, we've noticed too that Australia, in our orbit, we have a good amount of Australian listeners and subscribers. And it's just, there's a lot of consciousness there that I think even predates a lot of our American consciousness of eco-friendly. It's like Australia's been on it.
Yeah.
I think because they also first has seen what the environment in climate change has damaged to the Australia environment, like the huge bushfires, the flood, nonstop, those natural disasters. That's really hard people's life, and people start to think about it. Why suddenly there's so much these disasters at bigger and bigger scale happening in the last 10 years? It's climate change.
It's true, and we're not far behind here, but it's harder when it's not in your face. You have,
exactly. So it's not a survival problem for your next generation, for your babies. People are not parents. No, it's impact me right now.
Yes.
So your house could be burned down. The flood could die. So I think, it's top of mind.
We just interviewed Jade Miles from Victoria, Australia. Her episode was live last week, and she describes how she and her family lived through the 2019-2020 bushfires, and her husband was a firefighter. And we remarked during that interview how it's one thing to hear about that in the news, oh, that's the other side of the world. And we were very impacted by it. That was a very dramatic thing, and it was very scary. But here she was actually living it in her life. And she makes some very good points about people really beginning, or really not beginning, but already on the journey to recognizing that we have to do something now. And she even says it goes beyond politicians and laws. She goes, it's more into culture. It's about changing culture. And so when, we encounter companies like yours that are not only producing the products that are providing alternatives these days, but also educating. And so we were super excited about where you all are in the education space, particularly about textile production and how problematic it is. And I think this is something that still doesn't have a lot of mainstream recognition here. What are the problems with the textiles? And particularly something that I think that is misunderstood a lot is why are the plant-based textiles less environmentally friendly than we might think, especially like bamboo. People go, oh, bamboo, there's so much of it. It's so renewable. It's so abundant. Yeah, let's buy all the bamboo. So let's talk about that and how you guys have switched that paradigm a little bit.
Maybe I can just jump into like the textile industry in general. So first of all, I think few people understand that textiles is the second most polluting industry after oil. It is a massive industry, and it's emitting 10% of global CO2 emissions as an industry. And then we can dive into which textiles are quite bad for the environment, but the majority of them are actually quite bad. So that is the problem. So the majority of the textile industry is polyester. And of course, that's made out of fossil fuels. But the rest of it, which is made out of plant-based materials, also doesn't always solve the problem. And so we can dive into that a bit more. Phoebe, if you want to jump into cotton and
so it's
bamboo.
really, the problem is really in the process. So the traditional dose bamboo fiber, I think that's why government also regulated. You cannot just say it's bamboo what? So they are the bamboo rayon and viscose still harmful chemical to process the material to get the cellulose out and can be able to turn into textile. So one especially damaged one is caustic soda. And tell you a fun fact, not fun fact, a horror fact. The caustic soda in 3 hours can dissolve a body fully. That's how toxic it is. Because it's a highly alkene, like highly acid or highly alkene. When the pH is like far at a spectrum, they are toxic and could dissolve stuff.
That's used to break down the bamboo. Is that what you're saying? Traditional bamboo.
The traditional rayon viscose, why they are so bad. So the government think if you just say it's bamboo, it's greenwashing. So they regulated it. You have to tell the consumer, even because consumers say, oh, bamboo is good. But no, if it's using the viscose rayon way, it's not that good. The input is good, but the process really offset all the benefit and also destroyed the natural fiber in it. All the natural benefit is destroyed. It's turned into something else, actually. But I always using a non-toxic solution, a more organic solution to dissolve the fiber out. So it's also first maintain a lot of textiles' own benefit, and also it's not toxic to the environment, to the workers, and also we reuse the water and also reuse the solution in the system. So it's a closed loop system. So it's way cleaner. That's why we call it CleanBamboo. And it's also save tons of water, save energy. We did LCA test to compare our CleanBamboo to bamboo viscose rayon, to tencel, to cotton, to silk. We all beat them in the environment benefit. And also beat them slightly on performance too. We have detail and data done, research done, because we always hear our consumer rating about products, but we want to base everything on fact to really avoid greenwash. Okay, think we're better, but how better? Exactly where is it better? Right? So we did all these tests and proved it. So when we talk to a consumer, we can educate on those things and rely on fact and science fact. Yeah.
That's so interesting and so informative. Even we who talk and study these things a lot, you just upped my alarm about the chemicals that are used in the processing of these plant-based fibers. And that's what we want people to understand. It's not bamboo. Yeah, bamboo's a great thing, but you use this chemical on it to make it into these wonderful soft fibers that everyone loves. And look what you have. And to your point, Phoebe, you've even undone the benefits of the fiber itself. It becomes a chemical product. And wow.
And just to clarify, when so for the listener to get it clear, it's the viscose and the rayon that we should be alarmed by. Is there any clean viscose, or is there any better viscose or any better rayon, or do we know if we see those words, they have used this chemical?
If you see those words, you need to be very careful.
Okay.
If they claim they use a more eco-friendly way, ask a lot of questions. What exactly that way it is? Do they have certification? There are a lot of companies start to saying that, but as I said, there's a lot of greenwashing, or because consumers don't understand those chemical things. So the only way is to ask questions.
Yeah.
Can we ask about some specific fabrics here?
Yeah.
Like what about Tencel and lyocell?
Tencel is good. So lyocell is a cleanup, so it's not rayon viscose.
Okay.
Yeah, Tencel is, so that's we also compare to Tencel. They are coming from wood. We come from bamboo, but a similar clean process. But we just think bamboo as a plant is more sustainable than wood, and it's grow fast, more efficient. But the process, Tencel is pretty good.
And why is bamboo a slightly better raw material in your opinion?
So compared to wood, it grows fast. It's a weed. So that's where we are also very into regenerative farming knowledge. Is this one also think it's the future. So bamboo is a weed. They grow mainly on 100% of our bamboo is on rainwater. So that's why it's saving water that much. And also it's organic grown, our HSC certified farm. It also would be able to absorb the carbon and while it's grow. And you can pretty much harvest in first year. And one is you harvest it, it regrow from the shoots. That's what a weed is. But for tree, you chop it, you have to replant it. And also bamboo yield the most fiber per acre than any other plant on the land. We also have many things from the seed. So that's why it's more efficient. A tree even the fast growing tree, those eucalyptus, they still took a couple years. Yeah, so bamboo is just way efficient. So in a way of efficient or naturally efficient, it's not like you use pesticides or fertilizer to be efficient. It's just take less land and water to get the same amount of fiber, usable fiber out of it. That's why it's better. And the RC data confirm it. Yeah.
I think Tencel is normally eucalyptus. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Or beech trees.
Beech trees.
Oh,
so they are pretty fast growing, but still a tree.
Yeah.
And it's different. Yeah.
A lot of us with home gardens know how fast bamboo grows. And so, so go ahead, Kat.
Oh, I was just going to say, CleanBamboo is actually, as Phoebe mentioned, is actually better than Tencel, even on performance in terms of durability, in terms of moisture wicking and breathability. So all those things that you want in your final products, you actually want them to last longer, so you extend their lifespan.
Absolutely. And how do you measure those things? How do you measure like moisture wicking? You hear that out there a lot, and the consumer might think, do you know? Yeah, of course you know. Tell us a little bit about that.
The performance test we all use Eco-Textiles, so that's the biggest, oldest testing facility in the world lab. So like for things like moisture wicking is really how fast they can dry under certain temperature. And also like for fabric, like the peeling or longevity, like the surface abrasion, they will like two fabric, they just have just like constantly they scratch each other for 1,000 times and see what's the end result. That's how their longevity. So they have all sorts of ways to test the fabric. And also like the fibers, like the yarn strength. So we test a lot. So our yarn start from better. So the yarn strength, how stronger is that yarn? If it's the stronger yarn, also yield stronger textile, period. So there's 20, 30 tests you can do to decide with like how a fabric compare to other.
You can get those numbers. It's so precise, like in actual percentage points when we test it versus Tencel, viscose, cotton, and other fabrics like silk and cashmere.
That's so cool. Now for this CleanBamboo patented process, is this something that Ettitude developed, or is it something that Ettitude found and applied to your product? What has been your involvement in this process? And what is the process? As much as you can explain, I'm sure it's very complicated, but as much as you can explain to the consumer.
Yeah, so we partner with our supplier to co-develop. It's more, we have a global exclusive rights on patent. Yeah, because when they are developing that, I saw that and think this is the future for the textile. So we kind of work together, because it's not just the fiber. There's a lot of other, like how that turned out into a strong yarn, the dyeing, the cut and weave. So there's a lot of like also other small batch and batch kind of run at the beginning of develop that fiber with that fiber material company together. And then so we own the global exclusive rights on to use that fiber to make into any textile products. And we decide what products to into. So we have a wide variety of offering. Bedding is our bread and butter, but we also have like toning material, even vegan cashmere, like we can turn, because we start from the fiber level, we can turn that into a lot of application of textile. I think usual other home brands use by existing fabric, but in that way, I think because also help us to have full traceability of a supply chain from fiber to cotton, sew, dyeing, and we know everything. That's where we can track impact and carbon emissions very clearly. What's the second question?
I think you covered it, but you saying that reminded me, speaking of traceability and supply chain, back to, and you mentioned regenerative farming practices a bit earlier, back to the seed, back to the soil. Where do you know where your bamboo is grown, and how involved are you in that process?
Yes, so our bamboo are currently still from China, because where it is native grown, but it's our organic certified bamboo farm. But down the road in the future, we do also move that kind of near shore. We also start to have productions out of South America, Europe, and Southeast Asia. So down the road, we also really want to explore the regenerative farm practice. So right now it's organic certified, but it's not the regenerative certified. There's also a difference. Consumer need to understand, and we're learning. So we are already talking with some regenerative practice bamboo farm in the South America. They're even existing in the US. Yeah. So bamboo grow everywhere. So our goal is to really move, like if that supply, say US market, we want to all be near shore, like the bamboo could be grown either on US soil or South America and the whole fiber yarn, or in one region, so that also cut emission. And of course, if the supply to Europe clients, it maybe grow still for bamboo from Asia, but the whole other supply chain is in Europe. For Australia, it could be out of Southeast Asia. So this could have supply chain near shore to its main market. The market is serving. And I think one benefit of bamboo is really can grow anywhere. And there's a lot of in Africa too. And I think regenerative organic bamboo farm also helped the farmers to get a better life, better for the environment around it. So there's a lot of benefit. And also it can catch a lot of carbon, which is like some of the bamboo farm might even produce carbon credits themselves. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, because we are very conscious about that, because we are a carbon neutral company. We offset all our carbon. Of course, out of the gate, our product is already in low carbon. But as the company size grows, you always on a absolutely number, the footprint might be bigger. So how to watch every step to make it more like to not generate carbon or even can sink carbon. That's how to keep up carbon footprint low. And this year we also aim to our science-based targets goal in place. That's our goal in 2023. So we can follow that roadmap to see in the next 10, 15 years how we don't need to buy carbon credits. So the whole produce is neutral or even negative, hopefully. That's a big, audacious goal. Yeah, it's complex, but it's also fun to learn all these things and then try to put them in practice.
I want to ask Kat, since you've been working at Ettitude, would you say that there's been a growing awareness and consumer understanding of the need for alternatives in this space? Or do you think, are you guys still just really bearing the burden of illuminating people on these issues?
I think it's both. There's definitely a shift in consumer awareness. There are even several New York Times articles that came out recently about the harm of cotton, which most people don't realize that cotton is harmful for the environment. Most people think it's natural and cotton is the fabric of our lives. It's the thing that is feels nice against my skin and all of that, but they don't realize that it's actually the thirstiest and dirtiest crop that we have and contributes significantly to climate change. The main issues with cotton is that it requires a lot of water and also pesticides and fertilizer to grow, and it depletes the land that it grows on. It also uses a lot of land that could be arable land to grow food. So that's not really good about cotton. It's also not really efficient at producing fiber in terms of the amount of land that it takes, as opposed to bamboo. It is the most land efficient plant on earth that we have. So that's really great. And then, of course, people are starting to become a lot more aware of all of the human rights violations associated with growing cotton. So there is a change in consumer mindset, and there are regulations that are coming down the pipe. So in Europe, they're a lot more advanced already in regulations, and many fashion brands have impact goals to reduce their usage of cotton and leather. And many of them have already passed laws on reducing the use of fur, for example. So there is regulation coming in the fashion space. And in New York, for example, there's the New York Fashion Act that was proposed in 2022 to mandate fashion companies to reduce their usage of cotton, leather, and polyester. So hopefully that will pass as well. So as these regulations come, I think the consumer awareness grows as well.
So what can you say about organic cotton? I know this is a very tiny but hopefully growing segment of the market. What of those problems with conventional cotton are addressed through the use of organic cotton?
Yes, so organic cotton doesn't require pesticides and fertilizer, so that is good. However, it actually requires more water and more land and more time to grow than conventional cotton, which makes it expensive and not very affordable for the majority of the population. And so that is the main issue, that it's not quite a replacement for humanity's need for textiles.
Very interesting.
So it's a better choice, but it's still pretty inefficient, especially the reason why cotton requires so many chemicals is because there's a lot of bugs that like it and things that happen to it. So without using those chemicals, then you are lowering the amount of viable crop, right? Yeah.
The yields are lower.
So if you can afford it and you great, but to your point, it's not a swap because it's an entirely different issue.
Yeah, it doesn't solve the whole textile problem. Cotton is only like 30% of total textile. If you think, everything cotton, no, it's only 30%. The others are the polyester. Is a big cat is how much is all polyester?
Polyester is more than 50%, I think 65%.
Yeah, so that's the real problem. And then the others are the viscose. So cotton only 30%. And why is that? Because it doesn't have the moisture wicking or quick dry. So a lot of the performance textile, like the company just can't use cotton. And that's why they use polyester or the viscose, which does have a lot more technical performance, but it's very damaged to the environment. So I think our solution is really a well-rounded replacement for all these, because with that fiber, it can turn into different, it could make it feel like cotton. It could be turned into a yarn. Of course, it's definitely similar feeding to viscose and polyester. So that's a replacement to all of three of them.
Amazing. Back to our discussion of bamboo, where it grows, and trying to get the original source closer to the market with which it's that you're providing for. Anyone, listeners to this podcast and my mom and I are well aware that the textile industry in North America, specifically the US, for the most part went offshore in the 90s and is all but completely obsolete. And there has been a lot of energy around reshoring some of that and bringing that industry back. And I wonder, in your opinion and all of your work with the supply chains, how far are we from a company like Ettitude growing bamboo in North America and manufacturing and supplying North America with our textiles?
3 years?
No, really? Wow.
You don't need very long. But there's actually, IRA has the garment industry, it's start to revive it, but more for small, like designer, but they has a lot of cotton factories in area already. So we are interested even to work with them for some small capsules, small collection to test. And also because in nearshore, you say, because these days shipping is expensive. So especially now it's normalized a little bit, but during COVID, like shipping things around is expensive. And if things are made, say in North South America or in America, you don't have tax, you don't have import duty.
Right.
So if government put more and more, even good. I think there's a lot of eco fashion, big fashion brand also want to lobbying the government to put more tax duty on damage like non-eco-friendly textile. Well, that's music to our ears. Then it's even the ground, so it's not shipping from far away, and it's not a good material, and it's damaging. It would be cheaper put on 50, 60 or double the tax than
Right.
some of the more sustainable, better made products look very attractive in price. So actually the landed cost wouldn't be that far away. So that's why we start to move more nearshore actually. And the shipping cost will still, even without COVID, in overall rate, I think overall trend is going up. Oh, unless they all ship to more use sustainable or renewable energy for the shipping solution. Otherwise, rely on the oil, fossil fuel. It's just a losing game.
In our work here and researching the current textile industry in America, and it just seems so, like you said, small scale designer. People can do it. It's just expensive. It's very outdated. And that's the reason why a lot of we designed a line of clothing 5-6 years ago. And our goal was locally produced organic linen in America. We had no idea that was just
Not a thing.
not a thing. And so in the time that we've been doing this project, Lady Farmer, it's interesting, these tiny grassroots, people are like planting the linen and using the old world techniques of creating it. But the true like scalable market industry just is, we have bits and pieces, but we've yet to see a full connecting supply chain. So it's really encouraging that you think 3 years. That's amazing.
3 to 5. Yeah, 3 to 5.
Wow.
And I think COVID, good or bad, does change a lot of things. Change something
Right.
for good. So I think, so people even think about the disruption or the high shipping rates or
Right.
the long shipping time. So nearshore suddenly become very attractive
Yeah.
economically, right?
Maybe we shouldn't be so reliant on shipping our things around the world 3 times before.
I mean,
they
it
are
contributes to emissions.
Yeah.
That's the main
So-
problem.
Yes.
And
it's just
time.
slow.
Delays.
Delay. It's just slow. Yeah.
So, what are the unique challenges of in a mission-driven company like Ettitude? And then this is related to what we were talking about a minute ago. But do you take your mission to the audience, or does your mission bring your audience to you? What are your people like?
I think both. Certainly, even in the brand name, Ettitude stands for eco-attitude. And we do attract a conscious consumer because they are interested in better for the environment fabrics, but they're also looking, of course, for something that feels good. The problem with the more general population is there's a misconception that sustainable products are either more expensive or they're less comfortable. They're rough, hemp feeling type of sustainable textiles. And we are here to dispel that myth because Ettitude's products are incredibly soft and very luxurious. And also we're pricing them at a similar price point as other conventional material products in the same kind of category of quality. So that's been our goal, is to really solve this with technology as opposed to trying to convince people to sacrifice.
Is the CleanBamboo process not terribly more expensive than the conventional processing? Is that how you're able to keep the price in an accessible range?
Yeah, it's about the same. So we're really pricing our product somewhere in between conventional and organic cotton, but you're getting something that feels so much better against your skin, as well as it's a lot more sustainable, of course. So that's an added plus. So for us, it's been, yes, we do capture that sustainable audience, but we also want to go beyond conscious consumer. We want to capture as much of the cotton market as we can and educate consumers that it's not good for the environment and not even that good of a fabric. It traps heat, it's scratchy and rough, and it traps moisture and bacteria. So there are all these issues with the fabric that we're all used to, and we're trying to make it as comfortable as we can so that people switch because of a personal benefit, not necessarily for the environment.
That's also encouraging to hear that it is a comparable price for the process, because so much of the conversation in the sustainability world is, and it's true to the most part, but it just has to cost more, mostly because a lot of our conventional methods for obtaining products depend on exploitation in many ways, not just the environment, but the people involved. And so there's just a general understanding that things have to cost more.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just an unfortunate part of the conversation. So it is encouraging to be able to know that there, with the use of technology and creativity and people doing the right work on the right things, that there are comparable solutions. And it just seems so obvious to people like us. But yes, that's really exciting.
As it scales, the price can even drop further. I think it's similar to like when solar energy just came out, it's extremely expensive, but drop now almost same to fossil fuel at the scale as they refine the panels. I think Tensor, when it just came out 20 years ago, was extremely expensive because it's small scale production. It's always expensive, but as a scale, they are also very on par. The price is also, so that's why it's been also more wild usually in fashion brands these days, because the price drop as a scale. So same here. I think that does need consumer support so that it kind of be more wild adopted, and then the price will even drop further, and then everybody wins.
Yeah, and I think out there in the wider consumer audience, there's so much misunderstanding, and it's complicated by marketing and greenwashing. And it's really helpful the more time goes by and the more companies like yours that come out with the better alternatives, that people have some basic understandings. Like, for example, natural, really, truly natural, not greenwash, natural, but natural products don't have to mean rustic or farmy looking or rough, to your point, Kat. And they don't have to mean more expensive. And also on the other side of the other side of the issue, recycled doesn't mean better. Just because something might be made out of recycled plastic bottles, that doesn't mean it's a great thing for the environment either. Yeah, that's great to take a small percentage of things that are already created and make some kind of fabric out of them. But there's other issues involved. There's microplastic pollution. There's what it does against your skin. And we love to help consumers get beyond all the buzzwords, green this, eco-friendly that, earth conscious, and really get down to the brass tacks of what we're talking about a certain product. And we were so excited when we were to you guys in the CleanBamboo thing, because it checks off a big box of not only the plastic-free fiber, but this huge issue of the very, very toxic process of converting plant fibers into textiles, and this super abundant resource, bamboo. And to your point earlier, Phoebe, like, it can grow anywhere. And the question I wanted to ask about that is, where it's native, does it have other environmental benefits, like attracting wildlife back to their native places? And that way, that's also very climate restorative. Do you know anything about that?
Yeah, there are 1,500 species of bamboo in the world. They all some edible. There's one particular for panda. Nobody touched that. But there's some species this human can eat for the roots, but ours is more the type of very big, tall, so yield a lot of fiber, and also the species which are very strong for construction. And bamboo, its roots is very deep. So it reshoots from the shoot, but its roots, so it will grow underground for a while. Before it's shooting, you'll see nothing happen, but suddenly it shoots out and grow like 3 feet a day. But that root system helps hold the soil water, so sometimes people use that to restore damaged like riverbed. So they hold it so that it's not like the dirt is not being washed away by the river, or there's like a mud slides, these type of things. Or use that as before you can recover our land already be deployed to try to grow forest. It's just too poor land from start try to grow a forest. You grow bamboo first, rebuild the soil a bit before you grow other things a little bit, like not as sturdy as bamboo. So it's like that. You introduce that to the environment first when a land is already like a desert or totally damaged, and then give it a few years, it will restore the land because it attractive animals and rebuild. It will hold the soil, the water, regenerative it a little bit before you can, then I can grow forest, trees, or other kind of economic plants. And this farming practice, you can grow bamboo with other things. So not like monocrop sometimes bad. I think a lot of the farming, because of monocrop, we grow corn, everything is corn. No, if you have a little ecosystem in a piece of land has multiple crops that help to feed each other, that's a little kind of, it's a circular thing. If you monocrop, it's basically will deploy land. The problem sometimes is also just like for economic scale, because big machine can go in and just grow 1,000 miles of single crop. That's not how nature works. If there's a piece of nature, you leave it alone, it will grow a variety of things. It will never be a monocrop.
So true.
Yeah.
So in the beginning of this interview, you said that Ettitude was a sustainable bedding and lifestyle brand. And you mentioned that you have a few other products and you can do almost anything. So first of all, is there anything else besides bedding that you are currently producing? And then also, do you have plans for things in the future? How are you living into that lifestyle brand of your brand story?
Yeah, so our brand is primarily known for our amazing bedding, but then our customers started wearing the flat sheets at home and saying, can you guys please make some clothing?
Wrap yourself.
Yeah, they were just like wrapping themselves in their sheets and feeling really comfortable. So we started to make clothing. And then with new iterations of our textile development, we developed a toweling fabric. So we also have these beautiful waffle towels, and there are more very cool plush towels coming out later this year that we're really excited about, which will be infused with another secret plant ingredients for added benefits. So look out for that. And we also make some baby clothes, baby products. We have baby bedding as well as some baby towels. So do check that out, and some accessories. We do plan to make many more things, probably for different rooms in the house with our different textiles, which will have different textures. Like Phoebe said, there are really a lot of things we could do. Pretty much any soft good could be made with CleanBamboo, potentially with some other added ingredients for various product features. So we are working on that. So look out for new rooms to introduce Ettitude to.
Eye masks? I can't sleep without eye masks.
Yeah, we have eye masks.
You have? Oh, I'm going to have to get one.
I cannot live without them too. And especially if good for travel when you're on a plane. Just put on that, put your noise canceling. Just launched a new product, Kat.
Yes, that's right.
Tell us.
So this week we launched a breakthrough product, which is our vegan cashmere throw blanket.
Oh,
wow.
So that's made out of 100% clean bamboo, and it looks and feels like real cashmere. But of course, it's completely plant-based and super clean. It's using the same process that everything else is made out of for Ettitude, and it's just so luxuriously soft. I love it so much.
And you don't need to dry clean it. Other than the usual cashmere, you have to dry clean this. You can hand wash it or just machine wash, but put on delicate. It's so much easier. Yeah. So because with dry clean, usually even eco-friendly, it's still some chemical involved.
But we actually calculated with a third party how much environmental savings we have versus real cashmere with this new product. And we save 80% of water, 82% of CO2, and 97% of eutrophication, which is a term to explain how many toxic chemicals are being released into the atmosphere or into the environment.
We need to know that term, eutrophication.
Yes.
How do you spell that?
EUTROPHICATION.
Oh, fascinating.
New word. That's so cool.
So good.
I'm going to start throwing that around.
Yeah. On the Good Dirt podcast and at Lady Farmer, we like to talk about slow living and sustainable living. And so we want to know from both of you ladies, what does slow living mean to you?
Don't consume more than you need. You don't buy what you want. You just buy probably what you need. It's a good way to start. Start to grow my own, like I have a lettuce grow jars and grow my veggies in my backyard. And I used to don't believe I have a green thumb. I think people just have a lot of misconception of what they can and cannot do. Because I was born and raised in Shanghai before I moved to Australia, so I'm a city girl. So like, what grow stuff? Now I know nothing about soil. And then during COVID, I get this lettuce grow, and then they're thriving. It's really good. And I also plant some in the soil, like in the backyard. But that is also efficient, like water saving, hydrogen. You can leave it. I think so. That's again, when there's technology, help people to do the right thing, and to eat the salad you cut them from your backyard. I mean, that the joy of it. You like eating life, but you healthy. It's the joy of it. It's just like priceless. Yeah.
And for me, I think it's self-care as a mom of very young kids. And it's been very important to prioritize my sleep. So it's been good that I have Ettitude bedding. That really helps. But also just being really conscious about making sure that I don't deplete myself and have enough energy to restore so that I can bring my best self as a business person, as a mom, as a partner, in all areas of my life.
Thank you. Yes to all of the above.
We agree.
And the other question we ask all of our guests is, what does the good dirt mean to you? And you can answer that any way that comes to mind.
I keep thinking about healthy soils. I recently went to a conference where I got shocked to hear that we only have 60 harvests left unless we change our farming practices, especially here in the US, but in general in the world. So I really think about restoring the health of our soils to sustain life on Earth.
Yes. Yes. And really bring more awareness to the things we use, the production of things we use every day, like conventional cotton, like monocrop food. And each of us start taking personal responsibility for shifting some of that paradigm.
Yeah. Which is why we really focus on regenerative farming as a goal for us in the future for how we're going to be sourcing our raw materials.
Yes. Exciting. Phoebe, what does the good dirt mean to you?
I think that means rich dirt, that those like black gold soil. I have a little warm farm at the backyard. Yeah, the dirt, it's like natural fertilizer. You only need a little and your plant's thriving. And I also start to learn a bit more about the regenerative farming practice. Exactly. It's such an ecosystem. I think it's that documentary you sent to me if I watch it. Yeah, it's like there's a lot of micro living things in the dirt. So a good dirt means it's a thriving. It's a little world. It's not like you think of dirt, there's no life in it. There's a lot of life in it. And these lives was feeding other lives. So you cannot just consider a dirt is a dirt. Like there's millions, billions of species actually in just a little bit of dirt. So think of it that way. It's a living ecosystem. Otherwise, but those desert land is this temperature. Yes, there's less life in it, and it cannot support to grow a lively plant on it. Yeah.
The documentary that Phoebe's referencing is Kiss the Ground. Really opened my eyes. It's amazing. And I highly recommend everybody watch that.
That's a great one. And there's a lot that are adjacent to Kiss the Ground and their work. Kiss the Ground also sponsors a lot. Did you see, especially Phoebe, because you're in California, did you see The Biggest Little Farm?
Yes, I love that one.
That's a sweet one.
I can't wait to visit. I'm on the wait list.
Oh, really?
Oh, Kat, maybe we should make that as a team.
Yes.
Outing event.
It would be really fun. Yes. It's very hard to get an appointment to visit, but yes, I would love to.
Yeah, they're very popular.
Yes.
Okay.
But I think Kiss the Ground sponsored that, or so, they had something to do with that. So what would you like the audience to understand about the work that you're doing?
Well, we'd like people to be just a lot more conscious about what they're consuming and read the labels of their textile products. We are doing as much education as we can on our own brand and all of the content we're putting out, as well as founders. Being on this show has been really amazing. Thank you so much. Allowing us to just talk about it and do a bit of that education. So I just encourage people to read a bit more into what they're buying.
Yeah. It's like, I think people these days at least aware to read the food they're buying, the ingredients or the beauty product. I think hopefully in future they will read the ingredients list of their clothing. Same as that. Yeah, what do you want to put to touch your skin is also important. And also just stay curious. Maybe feel like doubting, like we had talked a lot about it, but daily you learn a bit here and there. And curious. I like learning, so it's not all interesting information to me. So that's why I just acquire those knowledge. I wouldn't say like when I just started Ettitude, I know that much. I'm just, no, I want to be eco-friendly. I will start somewhere, start zero. Otherwise, I'm a city girl born and raised in Shanghai. I have no idea. But 10 years later, if you just keep learning, you could be somewhere, like at least know what it's just be curious, keep learning. It's not as daunting as you think it's all those big science words.
Thank you so much for the work. That we're so glad that you started Ettitude, and we can relate about learning. You don't know going in, but you learn as you go. And we love the bedding. Thank you for sharing it with us. It's amazing.
Thank you so much. Yes,
and
it's really wonderful.
So lovely. Chat with you guys.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, and I just want to say how excited we are about what you guys do and your technology. And we've been talking about this for years, and we're just so happy to discover you. So thank you so much. Thanks for being on and for your time.
Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you.
We'll be in touch. Bye-bye.
Bye.
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 Thank you for tuning in, calling in, and spreading the good dirt. You can reach our listener voicemail at 443-459-1950. That's 443-459-1950. You can find this number in our show notes and in the link in our Instagram profile.
This show is produced by Lady Farmer with original music composed and performed by John Kingsley. Our technical partner for this series is Citizen Racecar. Post-production by Alex Brower and Jose Miguel Baez. Coordinated by Gabriela Montequin.
For more from Lady Farmer, follow us on Instagram at We Are Lady Farmer. That's We Are Lady Farmer. Or join us online at www.ladyfarmer.com. We'll see you next time on The Good Dirt.